nice to see you, nice. Welcome to live stream. I have a new camera today. Yeah. So if you keep seeing me looking to the side, every time I look to the side, I'm looking at myself to make sure it's working and I'm in focus. Not currently focus. Woohoo! Don't know why that's not focusing me. Oh, it is now. Well, welcome to live stream. If this is your first time on live stream, then I'll tell you how it works. You have to call me through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12, or you can write me a message through Skype and ask questions. I do these every Sunday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. French time, and you're very welcome to join. You just go onto my YouTube channel. If you want to get updated about when I go live, then you can subscribe to the channel and press notifications, and then it will go into your email box telling you when I've gone live. You can also subscribe to my website, and then you'll be updated with events I do. I think that's everything. If you want to call in, remember that you've got to use a microphone with a like headset, so it's good audio for everybody else, and that you've got good internet. If you want to come to one of my events, the next event that I'm doing is in London on the 20th of July. You can find tickets on my website. That's just a day event in London, in Notting Hill. And then after that, I'm doing a retreat in Parin in northern Germany from the 9th to the 16th of August. And that's in a really beautiful spiritual spa. The owner is someone that's come to my talks for many years, and he was trying to convince me to go and visit, and I went and visited. And as soon as I arrived, I was like, yes, it's a really beautiful building. Yeah, it's a really beautiful building with a billabong, so like a natural swimming pool with sauna, I think. And then there's massages and like a health spa as well in the other hotel. There's 2 hotels. And I think it's like 10 minutes walk, may walk or by car, I forgot, to the Baltic Sea. I think walk. It's very close. Yeah, and it's very close to, so you'd fly into Hamburger, where hamburgers came from. The Germans have a lot of cities named after food. Apparently they named them after food rather than the opposite way around, the food getting named after the place. So they've got Frankfurter, they've got Hamburg, they've got Munich, which kind of sounds like munching. So you can arrive in a hamburger. So if you like hamburgers, you can go to Hamburger. Yes. And that is all. That's the last events I'm going to do for the rest of the year, as I have other plans. So in the beginning of my talks, I always like to sit in silence. So you're very welcome to just join me for 10 minutes of sitting in silence. So what was the name of the talk again? I just made it smaller and I've forgotten. Do you feel like you lived your life wrong? Do you feel like you lived your life wrong? There should have been another way. So it's not really important whether you've done something right or wrong. It's important on the relative level as to whether you get into trouble or something happens to you on the human level, but on the absolute level, like in non-duality terms, it's really irrelevant. The problem is when you do something wrong, or when you feel like you've done something wrong, or you feel like you've made a mistake, then there's this identification with it and this seeking to avoid that feeling because the feeling is uncomfortable. So doing something wrong is more than likely in your heart chakra and in your throat, and then it arises like you do something or you feel guilty about something, or you fill out forms wrong, or you forget to do something, or you treat your kids or your partner in a certain way, or you make a choice to move somewhere and then you realize it's a disaster. Whatever the case is, on the ultimate level, it doesn't matter, but what creates the suffering is the identification with that feeling and then the attempt to try to avoid that feeling. So it's like all that mentality that starts arising around the guilt, the shame, the embarrassment, the self-judgment, the pity story. All of these arise, and then it's taken to be true and it's taken to be a reality. And then you seek to avoid the feelings that it produces, and it wakes you up at night, and it stresses everything. And that's never your problem. Your problem always is that you've lost home. So the person is always convinced that the problem with my life is me and something that I've done in it, or something that someone else has done to me, decisions I've made, places I've been. Like, my problem is me, and that is the reason why I'm unhappy. Events, circumstance, life is the reason I'm unhappy. But actually the reason that you suffer is because there's an identification with that person, and that consciousness is sucked in and made it feel like that person is really real, and that's who you are, and that you're somebody inside this body. And this isn't who you are. Who you are is nobody. Not a thing. That's who you truly are. It shines through a character, so it shines through someone that's maybe done things wrong, got to go to jail, or cleaned something up that it's made a mistake about. But that's not actually you. So who are you? Who are you? Who looks out of your eyes? Who feels? What happens in humans is that there's thoughts that arise, there's feelings that arise, there's sensations that arise, and then there's something that claims all of that, like sticky tape, and says, that is me. I'm somebody that came into this room. I'm somebody that will leave this room. I'm somebody that's been on holiday to New Zealand. I'm a social worker. I have 8 kids, 2 dogs, 3 cats, 4 husbands. And I'm pretty tired and exhausted from all that. So this is the story that you tell yourself. I'm sure that story is very familiar to a lot of women. And then there's this identification with that story. And so what happens is you never get a break from yourself. Who you are, your nature, is self-replenishing. Is that the right word? It's not even self-replenishing, because consciousness doesn't actually get affected by anything. It's free. It's absolutely free. So in each moment, so if you think that you're guilty and that you've done something wrong, you have to examine what's happening in each moment. So in each moment, there's an impulse arising. So there's feelings arising, there's speaking arising, there's looking that arising. And where is that coming from? If you're guilty for your actions and your behaviors and what you've done, then where is this you that it all arises from? So what happens in your brain is there is this commentator. When they say that the commentator that says, should I take an apple or should I take an orange? It's actually that comes after the decision's been made. So the decision by the body's been made to take an orange, and then the story comes, I'm going to take an orange over the apple. And then it makes it feel like this is who you are, that you are that voice. Where actually who you are is consciousness, and everything's arising from this consciousness, and it's kind of automatic. It's not coming from a center. There isn't a person that's acting freely and has free will. There is no free will. There is simply life happening from this infinite source of nothing. Nothing is the nature. I have to put this window small again, otherwise I keep looking at myself. Sorry. Vanity prevails. Lisa is vain. It's very, very difficult to not look at yourself when you're filming and then you've got a screen with a big picture of you. You end up like that. So what was I saying? So who is this you? Free will is a story that we've invented. Choice is something that we've invented. There's never been choice. So if you take Khaleesi, my beautiful dog, who's not here with me, she's in the garden, so I can't point to her. She's having her dinner. So she's, so say if I presented to her a chicken kebab and a vegetable kebab. Chicken kebab, a vegetable kebab. If you don't know what a kebab is, it's like, I don't know, I think there's lots of different types of kebabs, but what I was imagining is where you have like this meat on a skewer. Like, so you got vegetables with no meat and the meat one. And I put it in front of Khaleesi and I'm like, Khaleesi, you have the choice between meat or vegetables. It's totally your choice. You have free will. Pick away. So she will investigate it. So it appears like she has free will. She's like, and then more than likely she's going to pick the meat one. I would bet a lot of money that she would pick the meat one. I think it's highly unlikely she'll pick the vegetable one. So she'll pick the vegetable one and off she'll trot. And we label that as her having free will and that being her choice. So that's how we speak about it in our language, that she chose a kebab made of meat rather than a kebab made of vegetables. And then that's a label we stick on her, like, that's what she's done. But if we look at dogs, like dogs don't have language. So I can say a few words to Khaleesi and she understands, like sit, waiting, come, walking, lay, good girl, Khaleesi. Like she understands some of my commands, but I don't think dogs have a language. I think they've got some sort of recognition. So when they bark, they can tell what the other is kind of intending by that bark, whether it's aggressive or whether it's playful or whether it's warning about predators or fearful. So they can kind of tell those sorts of things, but they don't tell it through thought. They're not like, oh, Jack down the hill is having a bit of a bark now. I can see that he's fearful and that somebody is trying to get into his property. Like, I don't think Khaleesi can think like that. I think that there can be a sense of it, so she can be agitated and she can be looking around, but she can't think about it. I don't think dogs have a language in which they talk, where they're like, hello, Jack, how are you today? And Jack's all like, oh, Khaleesi, hello, nice to see you, I'm doing very well. And then Khaleesi's like, how's your owners doing? Oh, they're doing very well, they say hello. I don't think they have this type of dialogue when they see each other. There's obviously dialogue happening with the way they hold their bodies, the way they move their tail, the way they smell, but I don't think they have complex thinking that can speak to each other like that. Apparently, somebody x-rayed a dog's brain And a dog's brain looks much like a walnut. So that's very small. The size, they have a brain the size of a walnut. A little bit shocking. I think I overestimated Khaleesi's intelligence prior to that. But I don't think they're having dialogues together. But yet, there still can be the appearance of choice, but she doesn't have the ability to say, I chose or I'm doing this. To her, she doesn't regret her decisions. She doesn't reflect on her decisions because she doesn't even know she's making decisions. It's simply life happening in the most innocent form. She goes up and then she takes it, what she wants. But we label it like she takes it and that's what she wants. But that's simply the way we're labeling it. That's not truth or fact. In her experience, there is only one choice and only one happening, and it couldn't be any other way. She can't think about it being a different way. She can't think about choice. She can't think, I have a choice between vegetables and meat. To her, it's simply happening. It's just a happening. So if we come back to humans, we have the ability to label an action as choice. She chose between the apples and the oranges. And we label that as choice, and we label that as free will. And that gives us, and that has over the years created in humans a sense of guilt or a sense of regret, a sense of doing a mistake, which I'm sure has been helpful for our survival, for us to be able to contemplate our choices and think about a better choice. But it's given us the sense that we actually have free will and that we're working against life rather than as life, for life. So we're against it, and we could have made a wrong choice. And it brings up a lot of pressure, and I think this brings up a lot of worry, anxiety, and a lot of mental activity. So there was something else I wanted to say about that. But just because we label it as free will doesn't mean that's what's happening. That's just what we label it. Like, so the fact that we say she chose one over the other doesn't mean we actually have the choice to choose the other. We can only make one choice and we can only do one action. And where do these thoughts come from? So if it's you, where do you put in that choice? Like, how do you create that choice? So with Khaleesi, it's fairly obvious she's going to choose the meat because she eats, like, they're meant to eat like 80% meat or bones or animal parts and only 20% vegetables. And so it's pretty obvious she's more than likely going to pick the meat than the vegetable. So with us, it's more than likely, you know, if we go up and we're picking food, we're going to pick food which fits in with our human capability. Like, we don't really want to go and eat leaves off the tree. Whereas like a panda bear or a koala is quite happy, or a sloth is like, leaves are fantastic. Whereas we've given the option of leaves, a lettuce, or a soya burger, we're like, we'll take the soya burger, please, or chocolate. And we believe that's our free will. But how did you get the programming? How did you have that body that has those particular choices and those particular wants and ideas? Who did that? Who created that? So it's your choice, but did you choose to be a meat eater? Or we're not actually meat eaters, apparently we're opportunists. So we're not, though there's lots of arguments about it. Opportunists, I think that's quite funny. We're an opportunist. No, I can't say it. If that is the case, like, how did we choose it to be an opportunist? How did you choose that? It'd be much easier life if we could just eat the leaves off our trees. It would be easier rather than having to do all this preparation over food that we do, all this hunting for food that we do. So we label that as free will. So then we think that if we make the decision that we made a mistake, that we didn't put enough information into our brains, that we didn't find out enough things, and we actually made a mistake. Whereas there can't actually be mistakes. There couldn't be any other choice than what there is. So let's imagine Siri in our telephones. So if you've got an Apple phone, then you'll know who Siri is. So Siri is someone that I can ask, you know, can you pull me up the best information about a dog walker nearby? Or can you pull me up the best information about Napoleon? And it seems, I mean, it might seem in the computer, even though there's nobody conscious in that computer, that they have a choice between different websites. But Siri is actually programmed to pick up the best sites according to my needs. So it evolves with my needs, it learns by my needs, and then it's programmed to pick up the best sites. It's not that Siri chooses, it looks like it's choosing, not this one, but this one, not that one, but this one. But Siri doesn't actually choose, it's simply a programming that's selecting particular information over other information. We can make more wiser choices, so we can learn, the body can learn how to be more informed and make more wise choices about partners, about relationships, about living, about housing. But that's not somebody choosing. So can Siri. Siri can be more updated with information and give wiser, more condensed, more appropriate answers. This person that you take yourself to be, that you think is the chooser, isn't a chooser, it's a happening. And the reason that I point it out is because there's a lot of identification with choice, and there's a lot of identification with your choice, and a lot of seeking and mental activity around it, and none of it's true. And that's why I point it out, this attempt to relax that grip on choice. Like your mistake, you've made a mistake. The reason that you feel you've made a mistake is because you've lost who you are, and who you are is this infinite nature, this consciousness, this emptiness looking out. To keep checking, it's on and it's working. And I have to open Skype. I realised that Skype is not open. See if there's any questions. Hey guys. Your freedom is that you are right here, right now. It's not about future, it's not about getting, it's not about where you've done or what you've been through or where you're going. That's part of the story of the character, but that's not where your happiness lays. You'll be sorely disappointed if you keep believing that happiness is in what you choose, in what you pick, in what you believe, in what you get to. This has nothing to do with that. This is a freedom beyond that. But there's such an attachment to that story of you. That's not who you are. Hey Lisa, I completely want to be free from the person, but some repetitive thoughts about me controlling life keep occurring. This is from Andrew, things that my person is afraid of meeting people, so I tend to get anxious around people, but the main thing I feel is that when I expose the person and I feel light and free, strong identity comes and tells me that if I stay like that, things will not work out as my person wants them to be. And as a person, I cannot decide what is more right, so I tend to get stuck. I just want to experience life as it is without having the control to control the person. Yeah. And it's not true that things won't work out. It's just that the person believes that it's got to be in the driver's seat. There's got to be driving the dream bus, that I have to have my hands on the steering wheel and I have to be closely attentive, otherwise my life will go out of control. If I really drop into this moment and disappear, like just let life come through. Because in this moment, where is that character? There is no character. The character only appears when you're in conversation or when you need to organize something at time or book something or think about the future or past. But in this moment, where is the character? It's absolutely absent. So it's just life moving you. There's nobody there. You're only there. The character's only there when it needs to be. When you need to think about your parents or you need to think about your children. But the rest of the time, in the moment, when you're drinking the drink, all there is drinking the drink. When you're sitting on the seat, all there is sitting on the seat. When you're looking into your friend's eyes, all there is looking into your friend's eyes. And social anxiety can rise in the body, and that's all there is social anxiety in that moment. I'm not that comfortable around lots of different people. I'm so freaking sensitive. But maybe life knows better than you how to direct life. And life is kind of doing it anyway, whether you're there or not. It's still life directing life. Like this control that you think you have is really not there. Like you're like, yes, I'm driving, and then the car starts turning left and you're like, straight, and the car goes left. You're like, oh, bugger this bloody car. Right, and the car carries on going straight. Oh, bloody car. Doesn't turn again. Oh, it says all these types of things to people. It does this or it does that. It doesn't do as I say, the machine. Naughty machine. And on the human level, what you can do is you can go to that feeling. So what's the feeling you have? Like loss of control on the human level is in the solar plexus. So you can also give that solar plexus some time and space to sit with it, that says, I'm out of control, this is hopeless, I'm going to lose my life, I'm going to die, bad things are going to happen, I can't control things. Like on the bodily level, the body does feel in control, but then there's nobody that has that control. But the body doesn't feel like it's always running into the wall. It feels like it can navigate its way around this world and that it can achieve and do things. So more than likely, you'll have had a weakness in the solar plexus and a weakness towards feeling like you're out of control and wanting to control things. Andrew, are you a control freak? No, I'm joking. But it could be that you've had a tendency towards that in your past, in your previous lives, in your previous, before getting into non-duality. And then you get into non-duality and you think it's a new story, but it's the same weaknesses of chakras that come up, the same thought patterns, and none of them are true. It doesn't mean you have to change or you have to get rid of them. You can help heal them and balance them, but it's seeing that that's not true. That thought comes up, it really overtakes you with a lot of feeling that bad things are going to happen to you if you don't control your life. And just see that. Hey Paul. Hi Lisa. As for always, thank you for sharing your insights and wisdoms. Can I share this experience with you? So this morning, as meditating, sitting, had this burst of energy lasting seconds, and now there is nothing and everything, all at the same time. Everything seems to be in the right place without having to do anything. Oh, that's nice. That's really beautiful, Paul. Hey Vadios, hey Lisa, hello, thank you for teaching and sharing with us and your good energy. Thanks Vadios. Hi Bia, hi Lisa, beautiful talk as always. Every word is filled with love. It is felt in my heart in this moment. Thanks Bia. Let me just move this up a tiny bit. Hi Joshua. All beings have an ego since they are a nodal point. I don't know what that word is. Since they are something point with memories and tendencies, how did you integrate your ego with awareness? The nodal, donating a point to a network or diagram at which lines or pathways intersect or branch. I never heard that word before. I'm just going to let Google tell me how you say that. Nodal.
Nodal. Nodal.
Nodal. Like a yodel. Nodal like a yodel. Nodal. I like this word. Donating a point. So the way that I speak about things, I assume, Joshua, that you're new to the way I speak about things, is that I tend to call the ego the character. So I tend to stay away from the ego because the word ego, because so many spiritual teachers use it in different ways. So I just tend to not use it in any way. Occasionally I say it if someone I'm speaking to is using it. But I say there is a character in the body. So that arises with memories, with feelings, with sensations, with experiences, with neural pathways in the body. And each moment that character is arising, it's like embedded in your body. It's part of the body. The same with like my dog, like the way she moves her paws. If she looked different, if she got put into a different body, I'm sure her behavior would change, as that body would have different needs and wants and maybe different neural pathways. So with me, I have a particular way of seeing the world. This body has a particular way of responding, dependent on the way my parents were, on the schooling and education system I went to, the environment in which I've surrounded myself, the books that I've read. So this body has certain information that's gone in, and you could say that this body is like a whole, like, clusterfuck. Everybody's a clusterfuck of information. Like there's all these tiny particles and glued together which carry and store information from one part to the other. And some of the information I'm conscious of and some of it's not. Like, so some of the body is like pumping the blood. I just have to keep making sure the camera's on. I have to change the battery at some point. So some of it's like pumping the blood, and I don't know why it doesn't focus on my face, but sorry, I shouldn't be looking at these things. So you've got, I can't be aware of the information that's pumping the blood, or the way that in which my leg muscles squeeze together to create movement. There is a consciousness of that, but there is a consciousness of behaviors to an extent. Some behaviors are unconscious. So, you know, if I snap at someone or if I get angry, there might not be a consciousness about that behavior. Like it's something that that arises, and then what we do to change our behavior is we try to become more conscious of it. So we try to become more conscious of what we want, of what we desire, of what we need, and then through getting more conscious of it, we try to reprogram these bodies and get them to behave in different ways. So we put information in order to change it, and that is integral to the body. So this character is integral to this machine, and it's constantly updating and it's constantly evolving and changing dependent on the information that goes in. And once awakening happens, which has nothing to do with the character at all, but once that awakening happens, then that has an effect on the character. So the character will begin to grow to that shift. Even though it's not the person's shift, it doesn't happen to the person, it is going to affect the body-mind. So that character is going to evolve and change. The character can infinitely change, just like knowledge can infinitely expand, the character can infinitely expand. There is no boundaries on how much this character can evolve and change and grow and know. And that can happen endlessly, just like all organisms here on this earth can grow and expand. A tree can expand over many decades or many thousands and thousands of years. It can change its DNA, it can change its makeup, and it can become more in sync or more productive for its environment. And that's the same with our characters. We're based on the same phenomena of expanding constantly. And they say that this universe is in one big expansion. So from the Big Bang, it's constantly expanding. And it seems like evolution is like that. Like we're in these upgoing spirals. So you like, in a way, life is circular, but it's like the circles are getting bigger. This circular life experience gets bigger and bigger. Like in 200 years, I'm sure that the humans are going to be up in the skies and going out further and further to different planets, or maybe even different galaxies. So this is something that's changing and evolving. So the integration between the two is something that happened here and is carrying on happening here. Like it integrates more and more with the character. But you've got to remember, the character and the ego isn't alive, it's a machinery. Just like all other forms in this life, they're information which creates certain experiences. Who's alive and who's conscious and who's witnessing that is who you truly are, and is not dependent on anything. It's not dependent on being alive because of the body. It's not dependent on any things to be alive. It is conscious, and it is the source of all things. As to say, we're all noodles, nodals, points of awareness. We're all nodals. Not really. Then you go deep into your experience, you'll actually see that consciousness isn't contained anywhere. Consciousness is everything. So you think that consciousness is coming from these body minds, or coming from a specific place. It's looking through these body minds, but in the direct experience, consciousness is actually everywhere. Like, where does your consciousness stop? You might say it stops here in front of my body, or it stops here. Actually, consciousness is in everything it sees. It's not, there isn't space and distance. That's an idea that we've created as humanity, and then it makes it feel like that. If you take drugs, or if you have an awakening experience, then it becomes very clear that your essence, who you truly are, isn't contained inside this body. This body is a vessel in who you are. Very nice. I want to direct it more effectively. What do you want to direct more effectively? Pourquoi? It seems to have got stuck, my camera. Ah, there we go. If I put my hand over it, it refocuses. Very good. What do you want to direct more effectively? The character. Yeah, but that's your mistake. To redirect your character onto awareness, you can't. Your awareness, consciousness, I call it, the big consciousness, is experiencing that character. The character can't turn around and look at the big consciousness. The character is being looked at. The character has something called personal awareness, which is functioning of the body. So the personal awareness is where you can put your attention on sound happening outside. You can put the attention on the tip of my nose. You can put the attention on your big toe. You can put your attention on your elbows. So you can do all of that. But all of that is being experienced by something. There is something that knows that movement of attention. That is like moving the camera. So let me just get my phone. So in my phone, I have a camera. Now I can connect my camera to my editing suite here that I've got for live stream. So I can have two cameras. So I could be filming Khaleesi outside, and every time I wanted to have a squeaking cute fit, like tick, 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 I could go to Khaleesi and I could sing her a song, and we could watch Khaleesi being sung to, or whatever it is. So I could use my phone like wirelessly to sit outside and film my dog. So just out there. I could film her and have it set up, and I could see her out there. So this camera, so you can see here, this camera can film things, but it can't see. My camera cannot, this phone cannot be conscious of what's happening. So the phone can record the information. It can be a live portal that sits outside and films my dog, but the camera isn't conscious. This isn't conscious. So it can't experience filming my dog. It needs us to look at it with our consciousness in order to experience that film that's being taken. And the question is, by like I think really famous Zen quote is, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? That's a koan. And so if we don't look at the phone and we don't look at the picture, is it actually happening? And we can never determine that. We can just go by what our experience is, and what our experience is, no, it's not happening, but we can't be sure about that because it's only conceptual. And we can also begin to see that concepts are only concepts and they don't actually lead us anywhere, just to more concepts. But we can use them to depict what we already believe. So we need something to look at this camera. Now this camera, we could say we could use it as a metaphor, as a human, and we can move it, and that's like moving personal awareness. So we can film this side of the room, we can film this side of the room, we can film up there, and we can see different things, and we can say that's what personal awareness is, the ability to focus the lens up there, down there, on your big toe, on your heart beating, on the smell that's happening. Oops, I just gave something away. You can focus your personal awareness, just like we can move the camera alone, then we can focus it, we can pull it in. And most people think that personal awareness can turn around and look at the big consciousness, but it can't. It's always being experienced. So a lot of people practice putting their attention in awareness and putting their attention in I am, and I recommend it. I think it's super helpful. But just know that you can never see consciousness. Consciousness is always looking at you. It's like the phone cannot see who's looking at the phone. So this phone is now like looking at the room over there. So you can see that. So it's looking at that room over there. So it's got focus. Now we're looking at it and we're giving it consciousness by looking at it. So we're seeing what's happening through the phone. So the person thinks that it can turn that phone round, so it can turn its personal awareness round and its head round and look back at the looker, but it's never true. It's actually an illusion. Consciousness will always be looking at the movement of personal awareness and the movement of the body-mind mechanism, the thoughts in the body-mind mechanism. It's the silent witness that never moves and is always there in everything. And it cannot be seen, it sees. So you can actually never get to personal awareness. So when open awareness is being aware of awareness, what do you think is happening? So when open awareness is being aware of awareness, what do you think is happening? I think that that's an experience of a divided mind, and I think it's part of the awakening experience. And then finally what will happen is there will simply be everything, and there won't be somebody that knows everything. There will be a character that can come up and report the experience, but the experience will simply be wholeness. The person always personalizes everything and says, I had an awakening, I saw something, but who? That would be a division, that would be two. How does awareness see awareness? How do you remember yourself? You can't remember yourself. How does somebody wake up? There is nobody that can wake up. There is only what's happening, and what's happening isn't divided. Where is your consciousness separate from everything else that's happening? Your consciousness doesn't stop anywhere. Your consciousness is everything that appears. And in that, there's somebody that moves personal awareness. In that, there's thoughts. And the illusion is that's who you are. That you are that. That is not who you are. And when that illusion rises, that you are personal awareness, that you're the body and that you're the emotions, what happens is a fixation on your experience giving you wholeness. But you're not conscious of that. It's just that as soon as you lose yourself, so as soon as you lose home, as soon as you divide into two rather than one, it always feels uncomfortable. So then it creates something called seeking for home, and you're never going to find it. Home is. Vous me comprendre? Vous me comprendre? Do you understand? Doesn't matter if you don't understand. Understanding is something that comes and goes in who you are. Who's watching that understanding? Who sees all the thoughts and all the one trying to work it out? Who knows that? But you can write back after you thought about that. Hello, Lisa. Greetings from Ecuador. Greetings to Ecuador. Ecuador. Thank you for everything. You have been such an inspiration for having the courage to jump into the void, which doesn't actually feel like the void. What a joke life makes to us. Yes. Nice. I wish that fulfilled my understanding. Yeah, that's just an experience. Understanding comes and goes. So you want it to, but who would it fulfill? It's just in this moment the understanding wants to understand. It's like, and then that disappears. Then you're like, what's for dinner? What's happening on the internet? You'll never get it in anything. It's what is happening right here. Who's conscious of that understanding? Hi, Natalila. Hello, Lisa. You look so beautiful. I am amazed. Oh, thank you, Natalila. My question is it possible to slow down or block this process of burping out all these things that we're keeping inside and now they are coming to the surface? Sometimes I really wish not to say or do something I feel is embarrassing, but it is true in that moment. So on the one hand, I want to let this go, but on the other hand, I'm afraid to risk. For example, I want to say someone I really like this person, but I feel afraid to expose this character, me, and thoughts appear that this feeling is not true. Like I don't know how to discern. Amazed. I meant thrilled. Yes. It's okay to be shy. It's just shyness that appears. Like to say, I like you. I don't know how ballsy I am in that situation. It's okay to be shy. Like what makes you believe that you have to stop that? Like see that the freedom comes from that which is knowing it all. Not from what you do or what you say or what you are, or being embarrassed or not being embarrassed. These are all impermanent emotions that come and go endlessly. The difficulty is when you attach with them and then it makes them exaggerated and then the thoughts go wild about it because you really believe that's you. And then it gets really uncomfortable. And then when that happens, you can begin to go down to the chakra. So you can begin to get to the basic thoughts. So when you feel like you want to say to this person you like them, like just go into those basic thoughts. Like, I feel I won't be liked. I feel I'm going to embarrass myself. Nobody will love me. I'm rejected from society. Just to keep it simple and just go into the heart area, which is most probably where it is. Because what the mind does is it starts to begin to plan of how to do it, what to do, and it goes on to these elongated thoughts that really become real. So just teaching yourself to come back to your body and the feeling and what you're actually saying to yourself. I'm not good enough. They'll look down their nose at me. It reminds you of school. Thank you for your question. Lisa, my mind has a fear of change, my self-image, and that people will perceive me differently. Yes. And that's okay. So that's a feeling that arises, more than likely in your heart or your solar plexus. So just feel that and see that it's a feeling that arises that then creates lots of thinking and then makes you seek to try to stay the same. And notice that the root of it is most probably fear of survival. Like we stay in groups to make us safe. This is from Joshua. So you are consciousness, as am I, as is everything. I am now contained in this body-mind complex. What's the point of it? To fulfill a purpose of the whole system. I notice that I am the consciousness that always remains, but I'm attached to the player. I may as well assist an evolution of the system, right? Like in a video game, no? I want to help inspire space travel and ET connection with film. May as well do that. The issue I have is the mechanism of the chimp within. It controls me more than I'd like. So I mean, there's nothing that having aspirations is a good thing for a human, like having goals. But it's seeing that none of that will bring you what you actually want. What you actually want is to be home. So it's good to have them, but it's this disattachment for them. So they're nice if they come into fruition. You have a good feeling about it, because we have to do something in this world. We can't just sit looking at the fire like for the rest of our life, like I'm enlightened. So that's great that you've got aspirations, and making films about and space travel and ET sounds fantastic as a sci-fi fan. But most people's mistake is that is going to give you what you want, that's going to give you your place in society, that's going to make you feel loved, that's going to make you feel secure, and then it adds this stress or this extra dimension to it, whereas really what you've always wanted is who you are, which is consciousness, and that's deep rest. And then the body does its thing, the body survives, the body is creative. Like, it's good to be creative on the human level. And the thing that you would like to control it more than it controls you, then the way that you'd go about that is not actually about non-duality. That is about learning what your unconscious is saying. So getting in touch with your body and learning what your unconscious is saying, like what's actually happening. A lot of the time we're very confused as humans. We don't understand what's happening. We're in this fake game of creating these fake identities, and the identity has to be a good person, has to be kind, compassionate, has to want things, has to be successful, has to blah blah, all these different things. So we're creating this identity, and we're always looking at what we want to be, like this person that we want to create, rather than being honest with what we actually feel in the moment. And what you've got to do, if you want it to stop controlling you, is you've just got to be honest with yourself about what you're actually saying, and then realign with what it is that you actually want or saying. You might find a lot of the things that you're doing isn't actually what you want to do, isn't actually in line with who you are, but you do it because you've been told so many times that that's what you have to do. Hi Isabel, dear one, reaching out to you to greet you here, just wanting to connect right here, right now. Love you. Oh, I love you, Isabel. Really hard watching my mum, health failing, painful. Yeah, I can imagine. Hi Lisa. Sometimes if I get some bad news, I become extremely upset. And I feel a lot of frustration and anger rising all of a sudden and compelling me to take some action. Of course, one will take likely wrong actions in such a state. I try to remember your teachings, but in the moment I become very hard. How to deal with such rush of negativity? It's something that you have to be committed to changing. I used to be a hothead. I still can be a hothead sometimes, like respond out of anger, but not like I used to. And it's a commitment you have to work towards. You have to get to know what your unconscious is saying. So on the bodily level, like I was just saying to the last person, you have this character that you want to live up to, that you want to be. And you have this character you most probably see yourself as. And both of those characters are something that's moving in time. And then you've actually got what you're feeling right in the moment. And you've got to begin to learn what it is that you're actually feeling in the moment. And this is the way that you begin to change energies. It's not through putting new controls on it. It's not through the other way around, like becoming very strict with your behavior or what you should or shouldn't do. It's actually learning what your body is saying. And as you begin to learn what your body says, then your body will navigate you to more positive situations for you, to situations that work better for you. So for an example, when I was younger, I'll give you an example of one, and this might not be quite accurate because it's quite a long time ago that these changes happened, and I began reconditioning myself so young that I forget. I'm now nearly 40 and my memory fails me terribly. So, you most probably hear me speak over the years and my stories change. I try my best to remember them as accurately as I can. So when I was younger, I suppose when I was growing up, I was gaslighted a lot. So I think that happens to a lot of us in our society. So I was told there wasn't problems when there was quite clearly problems, and I was talked out a lot of what I felt. And there was a lot of deception and lying happening in my household, not necessarily consciously. They maybe weren't conscious of it, but it was like they couldn't quite admit what was actually happening. So there was a lot of denial. So as a young kid, it was very confusing to experience that. So what it did was it made me fixate on truth and honesty and wanting people that were truthful and honest. And actually what it led me to was because I wasn't healed when I had this fixation and I didn't really know much about it, and because life is so generous, it will always face you with things that you need to fix, or things that will help you to evolve. So it used to face me with situations where I would attract boyfriends to me, not all the time, but some of them that were liars and that lied. And a couple of times I started relationships on a lie and then discovering that lie. So, and really that's a deal breaker for me. Like obviously all of us lie to an extent, we have white lies, but these were quite big lies, and that's really a deal breaker for me in a relationship. But I didn't know all these things when I was younger, and I had lots of empathy, and I thought that the empathetic and compassionate thing to do was to forgive them for lying. But because they hadn't dealt with their stuff, it just carried on. They just lied throughout the relationship. And because I was very sensitive, I always had suspicions they were lying, and then they would deny it, and then they would pretend that it hadn't happened. And what it would do is it would make me emotionally unstable, not all the time, but I would have these big meltdowns accusing them of things, and then we would go through hours and hours of arguments, and eventually they would convince me that they hadn't lied. And really, they more than likely have been lying. Like now I know a lot more about things. As I get older, I look back and think, yeah, they most probably were lying. But I kept allowing myself to be in that situation. I didn't pick up the boundaries, and I didn't really understand it. And it took me actually till about the age of 35, so I'm now nearly 40. So even though I had the awakening when I was 30, that big shift when I was 30, I still had karma about being around people that lie to work out its way from my body. Predominantly, my attitude was too much compassion and too much not being able to imagine that other people could lie when they're telling you they're not. That wasn't out of my possibility. I could most probably lie, like I did lie, like we all lie. But then if somebody confronts me about an actual lie and asks me, then I just can't maintain that. Like that would really hurt me to do that. And I just couldn't imagine that people could do that if someone confronts you and asks you directly. And this was disturbing for me in relationship, and it caused conflict in my relationships. And then over the years, I began to understand these patterns better, and I'm sure it will happen again, but 35 was the last time that I had 36, 35, 36, 35 it was actually. So at 35, that was the last time that I had somebody that conned me and really fooled me. And it was really beautiful experience because I really, really saw how the lies were happening. They actually, one thing that I saw was that when they were lying to me, it had been recorded, it was in a public situation. Afterwards, I knew they were lying, and I could see how my personality was wanting to give them the benefit of the doubt, but emotionally it didn't feel right in my body, and emotionally that would make me wobbly, and that would create an argument between me and the other person. So I wouldn't have the strength to say, you're lying, that's that. You can say you're not 1,000 times, and that's that, and putting my foot down. So, but now I feel like I'm more perceptive at doing that. Like I don't just take it that people are telling you the truth. And there's also different levels of truth. So, and now I can feel it in my body. I could feel it in my body then, but I overwrote that because I just believed that humans couldn't do that. Like I was very naive with humans. I just believed that there was a goodness in everyone, that they couldn't just keep lying repetitively, like there would be some part in them that would have compassion or empathy. And now I see that that's not the case, and that's also okay. But now I'm more discerning with people's behaviors with me. And that was something I learned, and that's making me better in relationship. What it's doing is it's making me walk away. If I don't believe somebody or I think someone's lying, I don't necessarily need to confront them or ask them about it. I just believe myself. But I'm open to the fact that I might be wrong, but I just have more trust in myself. And that's something that I'm building, and I'm still growing, and I'm sure there'll be more things that come up in the future for me to look at. But as we become more conscious of these machines and how they work, so in those moments when someone was lying to me, my body was saying, they're lying to you, and it felt very genuine and real. And then my mind would say, I would ask them, and then they would tell me an intellectual story, and I believed that intellectual story over what my body felt. So your key is your body, is understanding what it is your body's telling you. And that you can listen to your body, and that you can begin to trust your body, and you can discern when to trust your body and when not to trust your body. Like so when it's in anger and in rage and in acting out, there's actually deeper feelings there. Whereas when I felt this feeling like someone was lying, there wasn't a deepening feeling there. It wasn't like I was insecure or it was related to past traumas. It just felt that feels like the truth. It felt relaxing when I felt it. It felt honest and truthful. Whereas you can tell that anger and frustration and shouting, there's deeper feelings there. So what might be underneath is that you feel vulnerable or you feel out of control. Maybe the other person has been inappropriate to you, but you've got to come to see what your body is saying, and then this will stop you acting out the rage and the anger. It's not that you've got to try and control yourself. That won't work. Saying to yourself, I'm never going to get angry again, will not work. Like, that's impossible for anyone. I'm sure I'll get angry again. And more that maybe I'll be conned again. Like, maybe that's the destiny. Like, I really have a tendency towards naivety. I really have to remind myself not to be naive to people's stories. Like, I really give people benefit of the doubt. I have to remind myself, like, note to self, I need to get it tattooed. And we don't know the way the other person's behaving, but you can feel what it is in you, and you'll get to a place in you where it feels like your true basic emotion. Like, you feel very vulnerable in that situation, or you feel that person's being over dominant or over bossy, and that feels true to you, and that feels right to you. Gosh, my camera is still, battery is working. What might happen is it might suddenly black out, but I'll change the battery. You'll still hear me. I'm not sure how long it will last. It's been going an hour and a half now. It's pretty impressive. I'm just testing it a bit today if I need to buy a plug-in battery. Hi, Joseph. Welcome. There's so many people making comments today. Oh, there's a lot of people on live, that's why. Normally Wednesday is a bit quieter. Is it Wednesday? Yeah, so if I don't get around to all the questions, there's hundreds. No, not hundreds. In the 10s, 20s, 30s, like, I don't know how you say that in the deck. Yeah. Thoughts. Hi, Lisa. Hi, thoughts. I find it so relaxing to not believe the story and sink into the experience. I'm asking myself, what do I get out of always going back into the story? Fear, wanting to control, wanting to become love, wanting to be fulfilled. Thanks for your talk. What actually happens, what you get out of the story is you being someone. It's absolutely terrifying not being someone to that someone. And it doesn't care if the story is good or not, it's just programmed to be someone. And so you've got to have a problem to fix. The mind's like, got to fix something. It's got its little hammer and talk it out. Because that's what the mind is, and that's what the identities come. It's always about fixing and making your life better and evolving you. Hi, Christelle. Nice, welcome. Hello, Lisa. But if there's no free will, then how can we manifest things? I think you last said that you are the great fan of manifesting things. Maybe I remember wrong. Hello. I am a fan of law of attraction, so thanks for the question. And so they can still be the manifesting of things, but it's not your manifestation. So your personality can believe that it's going to write a really successful book, or your character can believe that, and it can have a really positive vibration every time it feels it. So the body positive vibrates. And I believe that if that happens, that's more than likely going to be the outcome, that the book will be really successful and that it will do really well and it will fulfill you because there's really positive thoughts about it. If you're having really negative thoughts, like I'm never going to make it, I'm always going to fail, this isn't going to work, but you carry on writing it, and then when you publish it, more than likely it's not going to do so well. And but that is true. I do think that that's the way this world tends to work, like our thoughts and our energies. Yes, yes, yes. But there's nobody there that chooses that, so you're not guilty for it. I know that's super confusing because you're like, yeah, but I want to choose and create my manifestation. I want to practice being more positive about things, which you can do. It does appear that you can think to yourself, I want to practice thinking more good thoughts about myself, and more good thoughts will arise. But all of that process isn't you doing it. Those thoughts and those actions and that practice comes from no place. So there's an appearance of doership, but there's nobody doing. Because who is this person at the source of it all? It all comes from no place. That doesn't make you. In every moment, there's the thoughts coming up, the images, the vibrations coming up. And what the me is doing is it's sucking it all in and saying me, 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 me. It's not you. It doesn't belong to you. Vous me comprenez? Est-ce que vous me comprenez? I don't know if that's right. I don't know if I'm saying that right. My French audience can tell me. Est-ce que vous, is it that you understand me? You have, maybe it's, est-ce que vous m'avez comprendre? I have to be very slow. The French are like, est-ce que vous m'avez comprendre? Even quicker. That is so important what you're saying now. Thank you so much. This is so much like my life. I'm very touched. Thank you. With pleasure. Natalia. Difficile. Oui? C'est difficile. Yes, it is. It's because you always think that it's you that lives your life and that you're doing things, and it's so hard to hear Like, so where do your thoughts and feelings come from? So you can also teach yourself to cook. You know, you can read an instruction book like, meh, you put in 3 boiled eggs, you put in half a teaspoon of sugar, and scrub it all together. So you can read instructions of how to cook eggs, and this is just an instruction, and it doesn't mean that you're doing it. That's just information going into the body. You think it's you because you've always been taught it's you. It's just happening. It's like a robot. It's like teaching a robot how to do something, but that robot's not in control. It's programmed to respond to certain code in a certain way. So it's the same with law of attraction. Information goes in that if your body wants something or desires something in a certain way, then it will come. So then the robot does that. The robot reprograms itself, the code gets changed, and that happens. And then you say, me. Then there is nothing to do. Doing happens. You've always believed it's you doing it. So then it's not you sitting there and saying there's nothing to do, because even that is something for you to do. It's just that doing happens. Doing happens. Est-ce que vous m'avez... Oh yeah, vous m'avez. Est-ce que vous m'avez compris? Compris. Or you understood? It's understood, is it? It's in the past. Est-ce que vous m'avez compris? Thank you for the talk. With pleasure. Est-ce que vous m'avez compris? I've come to the conclusion, another 5 years I'm going to be fluent. If I carry on at the rate like this, I think I'm going to be fluent. I was saying 10 years the other day, but I've got it down to 5. 10 years I'll be like slang fluent. Hi Lisa, when I practice awareness, my mind always does its trick and stops me. Please help. The thing is the question that you need to ask yourself, and just really reflect on this. You know, so many words get spilled in these talks, but just really reflect on, who is it that practices awareness? Who is it? Who is this you that's practicing awareness? And how does this you do it? Who? Thank you for your question. Hello dear. Hello Amy. Lisa. Hello dear Lisa. Your words, as always, keep bringing me back home, and I keep running away for some reason. The good news is that it's quite impossible for me to get anywhere. That is the very good news. You can only ever get here. I think I have ADHD. That could be the issue. No, that's not the issue. I was considered disabled when I was growing up. They gave me dyslexia, and I suspect I have some form of ADHD or dyspraxia or something as well. But no, it's not the problem. If you learn about ADHD and get to know it, then I'm sure it will make your life easier, like, to understand what's happening. But no, that's not the problem. Your problem is the belief that's who you are, that you're a person with ADHD. Lisa, I wonder if I'll be fortunate enough to meet beings like you in the future. I feel overwhelmed by thinking that my future will be with people who deeply are identified with their person. You only see yourself everywhere. These deeply identified people that are a problem to you is a fracture of your mind. Really, everything's empty. And everybody's free. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Ronald. I no longer regret how life has evolved so far, because this consciousness is simply content, because this that is a new experience. I wonder if consciousness of two entities can merge into one same observation. I guess the searcher is longing to connect. It's always the one observation, the one observer. When you say doing happens, does that mean anything we do is all just happening and I won't have changed in any way and it will have happened exactly the way it did? If yes, then there is no reason to get anything. What about the actions that I need to take in the present? Can I make a choice? Choice happens and you think it's you and then you worry for the consequences. But choice in every moment happens. What happens is that you learn about things, so you put information into the system and then eventually choice is determined and you think it's your choice. The scientists say that the choice is made before you actually make the choice. So the unconscious has made the choice and then the story comes up and goes, I'm going to choose grapes. And then it feels like you. Amazing, my camera's still working. Hi Anastasia. Hi Lisa. What makes the choice mine is the constant back and forth. I can't never make up my mind right away. Is this just a conditioning? Yeah, it's just a conditioning and it's a disbalance in the solar plexus. Solar plexus. So what you'll likely do is you'll likely be attracted to people that make very strong choices. And you're scared of choosing. It's just a disbalance here. You can just pay attention to that and see it's not true and see that you're afraid of being hurt, that choices will take away your freedom, that it will threaten your survival. And that's not true. It's just a conditioning that's happened and then your solar plexus begins to tell you disastrous stories when you make a choice. Hi Thomas, nice to see you. Not quite in focus. Yeah, it's on autofocus. I was spawned, so now the focus is really nice. But if I move too much, then it focuses on the wrong spot. But putting my hand over it works. Like clears it out again. You have to do the hand rather than the paper test. The paper test they do at the beginning of filming, I have to do the hand. The camera's not focusing on you, but on the cup. Ah. It's, yeah, I don't know what it was focusing on, but it's all right now, Helen. Thank you for telling me. Hi Salvino, question for stream. Do you think the feelings of loneliness or sadness are coming from ego or have a spiritual authentic side? I kind of feel they are more coming from a soul level. Je ne sais pas. I don't know. Unless I work with you more in detail, I don't know where your sadness or sadness is sadness. They always come from the body. It's not something inherent in consciousness. Consciousness is no thing. So there's something in the body that gets triggered and sadness arises. And what you're, I presume, asking me is the sadness a seeking in some way? And most probably not. The sadness is just sadness, but then you have that feeling and then you seek to try to avoid the sadness. But the body is meant to feel sadness, you know, the body is meant to feel all types of emotions. It's just sadness, happiness, joy. And, you know, we're conditioned. So, you know, when I see a dog that's injured, I'm conditioned to feel sad to it. When I feel sad, when I see someone shout at somebody else, it's because of my childhood and my conditioning. It's the way that I interpret the world. Or if I feel sad about a computer breaking, it's my particular conditioning. Like it's the way this body is made up. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a feeling arising. The body is conditioned. And then what happens is we have the feeling and then we think, there is something terrible happening here. I must escape. And then there's a running away from that. Hi, Mansoor. Hi, Lisa. Am I right to say this feeling that I live my life wrong is a thought created by me as a separate entity? Yeah, that is a illusory thought that's an effect of believing that you're separate. It's not truth. You haven't lived your life wrong. Your life doesn't exist now. It's only now. Like, where is this life? And I think it's really common because we get sold a life when we're young that we're going to be happy if we achieve all these things, and then when we go and achieve them, it doesn't satisfy us. So I think a lot of people feel it, especially in their older age. Hi, Sharana, welcome. Nice to have you on here. Hi, Terry. Hi, Lisa. I felt moved to say hello. I just finished watching you on Buddha at the gas pump, which left me smiling from ear to ear. I too converse with people on non-duality. I've been with Sailor Bob Anderson. I don't think this is for the live stream. That's funny. Hi, Florin. If everything is temporary, then even chakras are temporary. This is what I discovered in my body-mind system, because even chakras do only exist in an imaginary world. Do you accept this view on it, or do you think I was kind of hallucinating? Nope, everything is temporary. There's nothing that's fixed. It seems to be the way the body functions. It's just our way of being able to communicate about it. There's no fixed truth about anything. My video is off. Okay, I just have to change the battery. I'm just changing the battery. I will be back. I'm still here, everybody. La. It should come back on. There we go. So that was really good. It made 1 hour, 50 minutes. So I have to do this again. So whose question was I reading? Florence. Yeah, no, it's all ideas. Hello. You taught me how things I might think are impossible are possible by inviting me so many times to the retreat that I actually can't pay for. And this school I actually do not have the right diploma for. So sweet. It's impossible. Yeah, that's really beautiful. That's really wonderful. Your hair looks amazing like that, Lisa. Thank you. Hi, Dan. Hi, Lisa. Sending you lots of love from Misty Cornwall. Helen and Dan. Ah, hey guys. That's really lovely to hear from you both. Hey, Jack. After your awakening, can you say that being that dedicated to truth appeared more in your life? No. I can say that beings, which I still had karma with, appeared in my life. I still had to work out some karma in my body. Life is always offering you gifts to wake up, to not wake up, but to evolve. Like to wake up before that awakening happens, but then after to evolve and to expand everything that it presents to you. So after that big awakening happened, I got offered really beautiful gifts of people that challenged old stuff that was still in my body. Sorry to bother you again. I need a little more clarification on having no choice. In that case, there is no one responsible for any consequences of their action because they couldn't have done any different. Yes. Then what is the point of anything that says this is what you should do in that situation? For example, can we make a choice of looking at our body when an energy is rising, as you have said, or just ignore it? No, you can't on the ultimate level, but there can be an appearance of choice. And saying this is the way you should drive or this is the way you should cook is good because it helps update your machine as to how to do things better. So when I'm telling you about the chakras and to go into the body, I'm giving information, and it's not a prescription. You might take it as a prescription. It's a description of what might happen in your body. Just like if I give you information of how to cook a perfect egg, then maybe I should have eggs tonight for dinner. I keep talking about eggs. So I'll give you a description of how to cook a perfect egg. Then next time you cook an egg, that information might come up. And then you'll always claim and say, it's me, I did the perfect egg. It's me, I evolved myself, I freed myself. That's not true. There is no doer, but it doesn't mean that doing doesn't happen and that information doesn't go in the terms of doership. Choice and doership is a way we communicate. So by me telling you, you shouldn't drive through a red stop light, then your body knows that information to next time, and then more than likely it won't drive through a red light. But you're like, no, but I don't need to learn any information about my body, about emotions, about what to do. And then it's like driving a car with learning none of the highway code. There's much more wise ways in which we can behave and which we can act, which bring a lot more peace on the human level. But on the ultimate level, the freedom is seeing that none of it's you, this detachment, that it's all happening. So that's all happening in the character. It's only happening one way. It couldn't be any different than what it is. And who you truly are is this consciousness, which is all things and no thing. I did it. I think I spoke to everyone, just not Kevin. It was you asked to speak, and I only just read it a few minutes ago, and I don't think there's enough time to speak now. Oh, I have to do this to get it to focus again. Nice. Yes. So I think that's the end of the talk. I really enjoyed speaking with you all, and I really wish you a beautiful day or evening, and I will be again with you next Sunday at 6 p.m. French time. It's Wednesday today, isn't it? Yes. So it's Sunday at 6 p.m. Thanks, guys. Bye.